Let's hit a couple of items. Can we talk sustainability? Has the market changed for it? What does Rackspace think about AI and how are they implementing it? Where is the market going? Srini Koushik joins me today. He is President of Technology and Sustainability for Rackspace on this bonus episode of The Business of Tech. With as many breaches and security concerns as I report in this show, it should be obvious that cybersecurity is not just about technology, but also the human expertise needed to interpret and respond to complex threats. Huntress is focused on elevating SMBs and MSPs around the world. Huntress has a suite of fully managed cybersecurity solutions powered by a 24/7 human-led SOC, dedicated to continuous monitoring, expert investigation, and rapid response. And the proof is the execution. Huntress is the #1 rated EDR for SMBs on G2. Want to know more about the platform? Visit huntress.com/MSP radio to learn more. Well, Srini, thanks for joining me today.
This is a pleasure. And it's something that I've been looking forward to this entire week.
So I'm going to start with the one that may be a surprise to my listener, because I want to talk a little bit of sustainability first. Now, I just want to give you my sort of picture here. Is I've been previously burned by green IT and some of the early initiatives that didn't take off in like the aughts, and sort of early 2010s. But you've been really focused on the idea of incorporating sustainability into services. Tell me about what's different about this moment and what you think those services look like now.
Yeah. Well, I think, first of all, what's different about this moment is where we are as a community and as a world. If you kind of think about it, again, no politics or any of those things, but we're in a place where the climate around us is changing. I'm not debating the root causes or any of those things. The climate is changing. We're seeing a lot more losses that come from in these major events that are happening, from a climate standpoint. And if you look at the economics side of things, income inequality is much bigger today than it ever was before, right? And it'll be income inequality is another one. And then as you get into the AI space, how do you prevent bias? The equitable side of things is critical. So it's one of these points in time where all three of these things are important. And so the sustainability view that we take today that is different than the green IT and others is, first of all, in order for us to continue to thrive with all of the new tech that's coming out, we've got to be a lot more conscious about how we consume energy and what we use it for. So there's the green component of it. You also have to make sure that as we go through this AI revolution, we don't repeat what we did when we went through the cloud and internet revolution, which is the haves have a lot more, the have-nots are left behind, and you have other social and economic problems that are coming up. And then, as I mentioned with AI, how do you do it in an equitable way so that the benefits of AI are available to the masses and not just the handful of people again? So sustainability is a lot more holistic these days, and you have a lot more tools to be able to go handle it.
Now, you spend a lot of time working with partners and service providers that are delivering it, and I want to think of that thing. Do you think sustainability is around them implementing sustainability, or is it about choosing vendors to do it? Because, for example, I'll use Rackspace, great example, right? Big data centers, lots of compute needs. It's incredibly obvious to me why energy consumption for a company like Rackspace would make perfect sense. But as I think about most consumers, and I'm using consumer in the business sense as well, if they make smart choices about their providers, particularly if they've done a lot of cloud and you've moved all that out forward, it would be more about making good choices. What's the framework that providers should be thinking about when they're applying sustainability for themselves and their customers?
Yeah. So at a very high level, I tend to tell people that it is really no different than how you handle your personal lives, right? So if you look around, you make conscious choices, right? Where you get your energy from, or what technology you choose to implement, right? So all the bulbs in here are LED bulbs. The switches are set up so that when I walk out of the room, it shuts off and things like that. So that is about being a conscious consumer, right? So no matter if you're a partner or a consumer getting this, you absolutely have to make those choices. And once you do that, who you choose to buy from matters as well, which is kind of what you've been talking about, right? It doesn't look when the one advantage of having scale, whether you're a hyperscaler like AWS or Azure or someone like us, is you have the scale to be able to locate data centers in certain places, be able to procure clean power and other types of things. So it's about, I think the framework that you end up using is both. Like, you have to make personal choices that are absolutely smarter choices that you do, and then who you buy from matters, right? And what's also evolving very rapidly right now is the underlying governance and compliance that is being expected, right? So with SEC, with the work that Europe has done and driven, there's going to be a lot more focus on reporting Scope 3 emissions. So if you are somebody that is, whether you're a reseller, like you're an MSP, any of those things, you've got to worry about Scope 1 and Scope 2, which is what you use to do your business, but also Scope 3, where you procure your services from and how green are they. So for us, that framework, the greenhouse gas emissions framework with Scope 1, Scope 2, and Scope 3 also gives us a good framework for implementing sustainability.
Gotcha. Now, no modern, current interview would be remiss if I didn't bring up AI. You'd already mentioned the magic two letters here. Give me a sense of the way you're thinking about an organization like Rackspace and how you play in AI. Because again, if I put my analyst hat on, right, we're spending a lot of time thinking about OpenAI, AWS, Google, Microsoft, the big players that are focusing on models. And then we're thinking a lot about the way it's integrated into products. How is an organization like Rackspace thinking about AI and the offerings and the kind of implementations you're going to do?
Yeah. So about a year ago, we launched what's called the Foundry for AI by Rackspace. FAIR. It is a very happy coincidence of that acronym, because our view of AI is any implementation of AI has to do, I'd say, three things, right? Number one, it really has to be symbiotic with human beings. Meaning, if you build AI that replaces human beings, right, or doesn't allow them to grow, then you may have a really nice technology, but what about the human beings, right? Like, what happens to income inequality? How do you kind of deal with that? I think first of all, so number one, it has to be symbiotic with human beings. Number two, it absolutely has to be secure. Right, and secure and private is very important, and it guides some of the choices you make. Because you mentioned several large language model providers and several providers. One of the key things you have to be able to do is you have to be able to figure out how they use your data, what they use it for, and others. Because again, if you're going to be using prompts and they're going to use that data to train their models, and you're using proprietary data or personal data, there's been a breach of trust there that you've actually done that. So the secure component of it is the second one. And the third piece we've talked about earlier is, if you're going to do something that's symbiotic and secure, you have to be able to do it in a sustainable way. Meaning, if I'm going to implement an AI that can write code, what happens to the developer? Right? How do we actually help them go forward? That's important, because if you don't do that, it's not a sustainable model. If you do that and you spend a lot of energy and waste a lot of energy doing that piece, then it's not going to be green from that vantage point. So the three S's that we talk about, symbiotic, secure, and sustainable, is what we call responsible AI, right? And for us as Rackspace, we felt like, what we're known for in the market is we manage and run production workloads. We've done that for 25 plus years, right? We know how these systems run in production. And we're trying to bring that expertise to customers to say, let us implement those AI solutions that are responsible in these and meet these three criteria that I just talked about. That's kind of what we do.
Gotcha. So where's where do you think, as in a partnership, right? You're doing some of the work, and solution providers, MSPs are doing some of that. Talk to me about where you're envisioning who's doing what when we're having AI conversations with customers.
Yeah. So first of all, I think there are multiple ways in which you can configure and set up AI. So for any organization to get the best benefit out of AI, they've got to go beyond the generic and go to something more specific. Meaning what? We've got some phenomenal tools like ChatGPT and Claude and everything else that are out there that are trained on the wealth of the world's information. I tend to think of them as Swiss Army knives. They can do everything because they're trained on everything. Well, most businesses don't need everything. In fact, some of those things, like when you go after and look at the data out there, that could be a distraction. What people need are tools that solve a specific purpose. And so AI that's getting implemented in organizations today is trained on their data and is designed to do something very specific. In fact, like we keep telling our customers, the best way to think about AI is to think about it as an employee or think about it as a coworker. Because what you're doing is you're training an AI on your processes, your data and procedures, and embedding it into your day-to-day work. Doesn't mean that there's no place for generic tools. There's always a place for generic tools in the organization. But most organizations start to see the benefit of AI when they take their knowledge that they've built it, and get it to run within your enterprise. So the way we approach the market is we absolutely, one of the key things about Rackspace's model is we partner, right? We're not one of these large behemoths, right? So we can't do everything and we don't want to do everything. There are things that we do very well and we want to focus on that, but the best solutions you bring to the market are the ones you partner with folks. So there's partnerships with managed solutions providers when you actually come in and incorporate that as part of the solution. There's partnerships with large language model providers, right? Where like whether it's Anthropic or model gardens like Hugging Face and others. But when you pull these AI solutions together, we feel like we're in a good place where there's a few things that we do and we do very well. And our model was always built on open innovation and open partnerships. So that really fits in because I don't think there's any one company that can do all. Like there's going to be companies that try to do everything. But in this space, having that partnership mindset and building it that way is what's going to make it work.
Now, I want to ask a little bit because it had been my thought that most organizations are going to, and I mean that because most organizations are small organizations. Most organizations are going to take a product and they're going to probably connect it to their data and then they're going to go. Like, are you envisioning it's so that might be like, and I'm using them as an example, but that might be like a Microsoft Copilot plus your data ends up being the typical implementation for most. Or you're going to use graphic design tools that you're going to combine with your data set and you're you're going to use it. Like, is that the vision or do you, because you mentioned a little bit more, like it sounded like a little bit more customization, or am I getting it right?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think most small to medium-sized organizations are going to get a tremendous amount of benefit of implementing tools such as a Microsoft Copilot. Right? In fact, one of our biggest partners, Microsoft, is one of our biggest partners, and Copilot is going to help drive the productivity and efficiency of an organization. However, you had the answer, right? Which is, in order to do that, it can't be what comes out straight from that. It has to be trained on your data. And in addition to that, you have to spend the time training your people on how to use Copilot. Right? I keep telling people that like the one thing that we don't get completely right with AI is we spend a lot of time training the model, but with the data, we don't spend a lot of time training the human on how to work with AI. right? And you absolutely have to be able to do that, because I can give you this absolutely powerful tool, but if I can't change, like if this happens all the time, we give such a powerful tool to someone and they're used to doing something a specific way, and they try to use the tool and they go, this is not helping me. It's like, no, it'll help you if you change the way you work, right? If you were writing an article a certain way for the last 20 years, and now I give you Copilot or ChatGPT, don't try to do it the same way you did. Here's how you can change how you write an article, put your bullet points together, ask it to go do that. Don't take the first answer it gives you. Right? Take it and then do these prompts, others. And so by the time you're done with the whole thing, you have a better article with a higher quality, better research, but it took you 20% of the time it took to write it. It's still yours. It's not plagiarized. It's still yours, but it's a collaboration between you and this coworker that we've actually put in place. So it's not just about training the AI with our data. It's about training the human beings as to how to change their approach so that they can drive that productivity.
Right. And there's tons of opportunity in that training. Now, we've talked about sustainability and AI, but I actually want to take a quick step back and give you the chance to tell me what might be important. When you're looking at the current IT services market and where you're guiding partners to spend their time, what do you see as the biggest opportunities for growth?
Well, I think, first of all, if I just take IT and software development as an example, like we were talking earlier, and I've been a CIO for a very long period of my career, right? One of the challenges that most CIOs have is that they have a lot of technical debt, right? One thing about technology, it keeps changing and it keeps evolving. And, what gets put in stays in and doesn't get updated. And every new thing, if you have to upgrade to the latest release and others, it takes time. We have CIOs that tried to do this for many, many years and have always had what we call tech debt in that environment. If you kind of rethink how you can use AI, you can use AI to address the tech debt. Why does tech debt exist? You don't have the budget, you don't have the people, you don't have the time. Well, AI can solve all of those things, but in order to do that, you actually have to be able to change the way you manage and drive IT. So the opportunities with AI exist. I just use that as an example. I could take it and apply it to any domain, whether it's HR or marketing or any space within this. A lot of reasons why AI is still, in my opinion, just at the start, because everybody has seen what it can do with ChatGPT and others, but they yet haven't figured out how to translate that into using it within their workplace. And when that happens, all of the promises that you've heard about starts to happen. And our job, and as FAIR and Rackspace and others, is to kind of help more and more customers get to that point so that they. Here's another analogy. Somebody asked me about AI and how I think about it, and I say, look, 200 years ago or 500 years ago, when you had to navigate to some place, you used a sextant, looked at the stars to figure out how to navigate. Then you had atlases, and then you had people like myself, who are old. When we had to travel to one place, I went out and got triptychs from AAA, right? That went away. GPS came in, all of that stuff, all the way down to now self-driving cars where you put the destination and it takes you towards the destination. The reality is that the driver or the passenger, really, the need for it did not go away. What you choose to spend your time on really actually then matters, because you start to free up time. And that's kind of what AI is going to do. That's one part of it that we really have to figure out with the productivity improvements you're going to get. What's that next level of Maslow's hierarchy for human beings where you get? That's one part of it. But the second piece, which is equally important, is as we get there, you have to be able to get organizations and individuals ready to have the critical thinking. And you just extending that analogy I gave you for a second, I can get into a car in Columbus, Ohio, and I say, take me to Cleveland, and it'll take me to Cleveland. But out of Columbus, if this car is headed to the south, then I should be asking myself, wait a second, Cleveland is to the north. Why is it taking me south, right? That critical thinking is important, because as generative AI and everything takes over, you start relying on it too much, it can and will lead you to the wrong place. So these two things that I mentioned, like, number one, how do you make sure that you still have that problem solving and critical thinking capabilities? And what do you do with that productive time that comes out, like, of implementing AI are opportunities that are still in front of us. And I, for one, I'm one of those half full guys. Like, I'm excited about it right now.
Well, you're leaving us with a lot to chew on, because I do agree with you. I think that's where the value is. Srini Koushik is the president of technology and sustainability at Rackspace. Experience spanning leadership roles at IBM, Magellan Health, and NTT Innovation Institute. He brings insights into technical strategy, hybrid cloud innovation, and sustainable IT practices, and he calls himself a techie. Thanks for joining me today, Srini. This has been great.
Excellent, Dave. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Are you an MSP navigating the evolving landscape of Microsoft 365 and Copilot? Skykick is here to help you identify ideal clients for Copilot and mitigate risks for your customers enabling Copilot in their business. As MSPs, you all know it's not as simple as just turning it on. In 8 steps, Skykick Automation will help you identify which customers are ideal candidates for Copilot and set a variety of standards to ensure their data is safe before Copilot is enabled. Embrace this AI revolution. Offer advanced automation, improve efficiency, and reduce manual workload with Skykick's tailored solutions. Educate your clients on the benefits and adapt your services to include enhanced security measures. Don't just adapt to change, lead it. Elevate your MSP business with Skykick and Microsoft's Copilot. Visit skykick.com/MSP Radio to learn more and start transforming your services today. The Business of Tech is written and produced by me, Dave Sobel, under ethics guidelines posted at businessof.tech. If you like the content, please make sure to hit that like button and follow or subscribe. It's free and easy, and the best way to support the show and help us grow. You can also check out our Patreon, where you can join the Business of Tech community at patreon.com/MSP Radio, or buy our Why Do We Care merch at businessof.tech. Finally, if you're interested in advertising on the show, visit mspradio.com/engage. Once again, thanks for listening to me, and I will talk to you again on our next episode of The Business of Tech.
Part of the MSP Radio Network.